So now with that seamless piece of time filling, we can welcome to the stage, we already have Fatima here, who's very kindly standing in for Bernard Kouchner, because unfortunately, Bernard is trapped in West Africa, where he said basically it's better that he acts and does than that he actually comes back here. So his massive apologies. He's actually got a little project he wants to get us involved in, which we'll share with you after the summit. And welcome back to the stage, Oscar Morales, Carol Stone, Doug Richard, and Christine Ockrent. And if we could bring up the delegates, please, the delegate speakers. Yeah. And then we'd like to introduce to the stage Haribani Malhotra, the convening ambassador, who's going to talk about the progress that's been made.
A very good evening to all the amazing people in the room and everybody who's watching us live. It's absolutely phenomenal to be back on stage after last year's summit in London. Truly was a life-changing event for me. I'm honored, truly lucky, to be introducing this plenary session of leadership, which is very close to my heart. Guys, I know, it's the last session of the summit. You've heard a lot. There have been 5 sessions, 5 plenary topics. You've disagreed to some, you've agreed to a lot of things, you've understood a lot. But trust me and believe me when I say that this session is the most important session of the summit. Why, you'd ask me? Because it defines how these resolutions that you're passing so unanimously and all these calls of actions that you're vowing to follow, to what extent are you going to achieve them? The projects that you're dreaming to initiate, how successful are they going to be? How many people are they going to reach? How effective are they going to be? Because good leadership, transparent leadership, effective leadership is very essential, not only for these 6 impact areas, but for any initiative that you and I would want to take. Last year's One Young World Resolution for Leadership framed was as follows. In the belief that upholding human rights is essential, we call upon our political leaders to make clear their stand on humanitarian issues before we consider our support for them. A fair demand, and the resolution was obviously unanimously passed. But let me ask you, what's a resolution without any action? To me, it's meaningless. It's just words on paper. But truly and indeed, One Young World acted as a fantastic platform, not only for me, but I think for all the remaining 799 delegates who were there in that room. It inspired us, pointed us to the right people, mentored us, supported us, and so on and so forth. What did that all do? It translated into some very good and amazing work. I'd like to share with you what some of my great friends from last year's summit have been doing since the last 18 months. African Student Leaders Summit by Shizwe in South Africa to develop a new generation of African leaders. Another great project, Atkian Gratchfield by Daniel in Switzerland, to help organize regional volunteer action groups. One Young Menandio by RJ in the Philippines, to organize events on youth empowerment. Brightest Young Minds by Mazahir in Tanzania, to discuss national issues with the aim of mobilizing potential leaders. I'd like to take your attention to a glaring fact that concerns me, frankly. Last year, there were 800 delegates for the summit. But did we see 800 projects? No. Unfortunately, we saw a lesser number. Why? Was it because that those delegates were even an iota less inspired than you, less ambitious than you, or less talented than you? No, not at all. It was because whenever we initiate or we have an initiative, there will be some challenges that you will face. Challenges like funding, or maybe the authorities not taking you seriously. Red tapeism, roadblocks, not being able to reach out to the right person who can give your project the push that it needs. But the only key to overcome these roadblocks is perseverance. I want to give you a sneak peek to the numbers, to some statistics to elucidate how these wonderful projects that I just shared with you made an impact. Can we have the slide, please? Again, another key point that I'd like to take your attention to. if you see the number of people who have been impacted directly versus the number of people who've been impacted indirectly, it's almost 50 times, something which is very unique to this plenary session. It means that leadership, good governance, has a phenomenal ripple effect. And this is an indication of that. On that note, I'd like to call my friend, very good friend and a great ambassador, Daniel from Colombia, on stage to share his experience about his project.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here again with you. And I would like to start by challenging some of your thoughts about a young global leader. May I have the slides, please? Thank you. And to do it, I want to do a game. Is that okay? This game has only 3 main rules. You must answer my questions strong, quickly, and all at the same time. Are you ready? What's the color of this thermos? White. Okay, guys, come on. Come on, wake up. Strong, quickly, and at the same time. What's the color of the thermos? White. What's the color of this paper? White. Okay, the second time must also be strong, quickly, and at the same time. What's the color of the thermos? White. What's the color of the paper? White. What's the color of my shirt? White. Okay, let's do it one last time. But this time, let's make the whole world hear us. Ready? What's the color of the thermos? White. What's the color of the paper? White. What's the color of my shirt? White. What does cows drink? White. Milk? Come on, guys. Cows drink water. They produce milk, but they drink water. But don't worry. That's normal. That's because we all have an automatic pilot. I will ask you to unplug that pilot and be open to this information that you're going to receive. Before telling what we do in Colombia, I would like to tell you the problem that we address. Our problem is that in Colombia, 89% of the Colombians believe that organized action of civil society can actually help to solve the problems of our country. But only 31% of the young people is actually participating. Why? Well, it's not a lack of time or a lack of interest. The truth is that majority say that there's a lack of organizations that invite them to act. This causes 2 main problems. The first one is that there's a lot of young people that do not vote. There's much less the people that vote than those who actually do it. And the other problem is that those who do not participate, they do not reinforce self-esteem or develop professional skills, and they move away from the problems of the country and become indifferent. To solve this problem, 6 years ago, I started the Colombian Network of Youth, Recojo. And what we did is that we create a model to increase young participation in our country. And we did that with a lot of young people. I'm proud to say that some of them are here today with us. How does this model work? Well, it's 3 simple steps. The first one, we invite young people to take action through the power of storytelling. And we start doing this in different series in Colombia, and now we start sharing this message with the world. And we have done conferences and speeches in 14 countries, 27 cities, and more than 22,500 people have heard our message. But it was not enough. We decided to deliver a fun social experience to those who want it. Like this camp that's called Bacongo, a camp for low-income kids in Colombia and young people from universities. People from different countries have joined the camp, like, for example, Lucia. I met Lucia 1 year ago here in One Young World. She's the ambassador from Peru. I don't know where she is. And 4 months later, after London, she was with us in Bacongo. And I also met Michael. Michael is right there. And 1 month ago, we were with Michael in Colombia, teaching some kids how to be a real hero. There you go. And what was said is, you know, a real hero, you don't need mask, you don't need a cap, you have the power of your heart. And at the back is the picture of Tutu, who was our inspiration here. Finally, we create a platform to train, connect, support, and promote the young social entrepreneurs of our country. And this, we wanted to be a present from Colombia to the world. So if any of you guys want to start empowering young people in your countries, please let us know and let's speak after the plenary. In this process of creating Recojo, I learned 3 main lessons about leadership that I want to share with you today. The first thing that I learned is that leadership is not about taking a position, it's about taking action. And taking action now, not sometimes in the future, because a leader knows that his power is the speed in which he can transform intentions into reality. And a leader of our generation is not going to be measured only by the impact he can create in his own country, but by the changes he can inspire in the world. The second thing that I learned is that effectively, leaders are unreasonable. But it's not only that, it's that they use their passions to help others. And we say in Recojo, help with your passions, so helping will be your passion. And finally, I learned that a good leader is not the one that goes fast, it's the one that knows where to go. And we must lead with a purpose. And the purpose of our generation must be those who are in need, those who are living on the poverty, those who didn't have the opportunities that we did for them. We must take the world in our hands and transform it, because they will teach us that service, happiness, is hidden behind service. Now let me give you a final tip. A leader knows that where his hands are is also his mind and his heart. So my invitation is that we come back to our countries and we use our hands, our minds, and our hearts to work in a project that will transform the world and that for sure will change our lives. If we do that, the future will unfold and hope will become a reality. Now, there's only one more thing to be said. Let's begin. Thank you.
All right. I'm hoping the delegates will come out once I've started. Oh, great. Should we have everyone come up on stage and then I can introduce Blaise, or shall Blaise? There we go. Here you guys are. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Blaise to all of you. Blaise is an inspiration. He is from Cameroon, and it is Africa to which he turns his energy and his passions. The failures of leadership, corruption, dictatorship, all these issues have led Blaise to collaborate with the Fumanyo Foundation in Cameroon in actively working to bring young people into the political sphere. He writes blogs and articles about the everyday struggles towards democracy and believes that education is the key to his continent's future. Unlike people who, people say that very easily, oh, education is the key, and they don't realize that education is a generational commitment. Blaise knows something about this. He was born and raised in rural Cameroon without the prospect, really, of even completing high school. And he is now studying in the US on a scholarship. He is about to head to the LSE to continue his studies in 3 days. 3 days, so, if you know anyone there, let him know. And he lends his voice to advocate for increased educational opportunities. He is a motivational speaker to young high school students in Cameroon interested in furthering their studies. And along with the Cameroon Students Association in the US, has collected books and school supplies for children in Africa. Please welcome him to the stage.
Thank you.
Say goodbye to Fatima.
Thank you.
Let me tell you why I'm asking you to wait. We've got a very important announcement. Breathe in, stand here, stand here. Very important. Alexandre, hein? Vite, vite, vite.
So really quick message. Hello, everyone. I just give you an example for the changing power of the media. I just got the confirmation now that my president, President Sarkozy, is watching you now on the One Young World website. So please make some voice.
When I had the opportunity to come to One Young World, I wanted to speak to world leaders, but I did not know that by the time I'll be speaking, a world leader would be watching me. I would like to thank Fatima for the kind and generous introduction, even though she's left already. When Obama was elected president of the United States, many young people in Cameroon were inspired that a young black man could become president of the greatest nation on earth. But underneath that excitement was a deep sense of frustration. Frustration because as young kids in Cameroon, we used to dream of becoming leaders of our country someday. However, our dreams were dashed when we grew up to confront the grim realities of our society. The president of my country, President Paul Biya, has been in power for the last 28 years, long before I was born, and he has no intentions of stepping down. The circumstances may be different, but I believe I speak for all young people across the world, perhaps those who wanted to be here but couldn't make it, either because they are standing up to an oppressive regime in Syria, or fighting a dictator in Libya, or besieged in a concentration, or besieged in an enclave in Gaza. I believe I speak for them all when I say our leaders have failed us. From government censorship in China to corruption in Africa to ideological purity in America, leaders all across the spectrum have underperformed. Take, for instance, in the United States, congressional lawmakers almost drove America to its first ever default because of political brinkmanship. That was not only irresponsible, it shows that our leaders have got it wrong. But fellow delegates, we can get it right. So I'm confident that our generation, with your leadership, a boy in Sudan will grow up with the hope of carrying a bag to school instead of wielding a weapon to battle. I believe that a child will grow up in Somalia and have food on the table instead of fighting and dying from starvation. But this dream can only be realized if we decide to put to action what we have learned here these past few days. We as young people need to promote a higher level of public debate in our governments. A government can function effectively only if it is open to public scrutiny and accountability. Governments that operate in secrecy usually tend to be oppressive, and they do not cater to the needs of their citizens. On the other hand, governments that are open and transparent serve their citizens more effectively. Of course, no rational person will dispute that an effective government must have some degree of secrecy in order to perform its essential functions, such as ensuring the safety and security of its citizens. It will indeed be naive to call on any government to lay bare its essential secrets in the name of transparency. However, no rational person will doubt that governments may be tempted to use the cloak of secrecy to cover up their abuse of power. In Africa and elsewhere, governments have used the guise of secrecy to perpetrate corruption, rig elections, and censor the press. Hence, we cannot trust governments to set the standard for transparency. It is up to the media and public to fight against the culture of secrecy that promotes corruption and undermines the rule of law. We saw in Tunisia where a young man who couldn't hold his leaders accountable set himself alight and sparked a revolution that toppled a dictatorship. In Egypt, young people, humiliated by their leaders for decades, summoned the courage and determination to unseat a ruthless regime and secure their future. The battle for them and for us is not over. Our goal is to not only hold our leaders accountable, but also to transform our societies into free, open, and transparent societies where everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. Gone are the days when leaders make decisions on our behalf without consulting us. In Iceland, the government reached out to its citizens on Facebook and Twitter when it wrote a new constitution. In Nigeria and Rwanda, Presidents Goodluck Jonathan and Paul Kagame reach out to their citizens on Facebook when they want to make new government policies. This is the kind of transparency that we require. Thanks to the free flow of information on the internet, young people today are more empowered than any other generation of youth before them. Emboldened by these new technologies, we can mobilize forces in an unprecedented scale to bring about change our own way should our elected officials fail to listen. To end, I will challenge all African leaders that have ruled for more than a decade to step down and hand over power to the next generation. In addition, I will call on world leaders to completely overhaul the United Nations. In this age, with the rise of the BRIC nations, Africa, India, and Brazil deserve permanent seats at the UN Security Council. Thank you.
I want to introduce to you a very young kid. His name is Alan Andrés Jaramillo. He's coming from Bolivia. Alan Andrés Jarandilla, excuse me, sorry. Alan Andrés comes from La Paz, Bolivia. He represents the model of the United Nations in his home city. He also is a strong believer that corruption is definitely stuck in progress, and he has a lot to say. But first, let me tell you something about Latin American countries, and I'm saying this from my heart. For long, Latin American countries have been considered like banana republics. Hollywood really hurts our feelings every time that they show us as just palm trees and stupid people. We are gorgeous nations, very smart nations. And I believe that don't trust whatever you hear about Latin American countries. Don't trust. Some rulers that live there, they do not represent us. This is the real voice of those countries, the real voice.
Dear One Young World fellow delegates, when we talk about creating change in our societies and in the whole world, we have to take into account that many structural problems require structural reforms too. And the best way to do it is with political leadership. Political leadership is very important to tackle the most challenging problems our world is facing. The lack of political leadership means failing in problems that are very common to us. One of the best examples is corruption. It is a problem that we can find almost everywhere. We have to fight against corruption because there is a direct relation between corruption and poverty in a country. It is not a coincidence that the countries that have the highest indexes of poverty have also the highest indexes of corruption. The end of poverty is the first Millennium Development Goal, but we are going to hardly reach it if there is corruption in our governments. We have to demand transparency and to start enacting it in our countries, regions, and globally. We have to participate actively in the social control and be sure that our governments are transparent. But our works and our efforts should not concentrate only on corruption. There are other issues that require attention too. One of them I think is very important is gender equality. Women should be given equal opportunities to participate actively because the world problems require attention of all its inhabitants. The empowerment of women is something we shouldn't ignore. So we have to ask our governments to formulate public policies that include gender equality. There are many other problems that require attention and structural reforms. However, when we talk about political leadership, we tend to concentrate in actual governments, which is important. But we have to concentrate also in future governments and the future leaders that will continue with these reforms. A lot of people think that political leaders just promise what they won't accomplish. I think that it is a real problem, and it happens still today because our society is experiencing a lack of political leadership. So, as young leaders, we have to demand our governments to perform what they promised and to take a special attention to problems such as environment, sustainable development, health, poverty, and others. Well, I think I have concentrated a lot on important things that we should demand. But I think that if we just wait our governments to take action, we're not going to be as proactive as we should be. We are creative, and we have innovative ideas. So we have to not only focus on demanding actions to our governments, but also in proposing ideas that could help in the solution of social problems. We have to start proposing our governments in order to see reflected in their actions our ideas and the change we want to see in our world. However, leadership is more than proposing ideas. Leadership includes involving more youngsters, gaining support of them, and taking concrete actions. The United Nations Secretary General said that our generation is showing a growing resolve to change the world and the capacity to make things happen. Leadership means demonstrating that capacity with concrete actions. For example, one of the actions I will undertake as soon as I return to Bolivia is to start an organization with the main objective of involving more Bolivian youngsters in the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals. Also, to start a regional and global network of youth involved in the achievement of the MDGs. So, I call upon all of you to collaborate with this initiative to demand our leaders to keep their promise and to show them our commitment to achieve the MDGs. There are many topics that require attention, and we have the opportunity to collaborate with proposing ideas, involving more people and taking action. Issues as environment, sustainable development, human rights, education, and many others are topics in which we could help. It's our decision to start making this a reality. I am sure we will take this decision. Thank you.
Well, our next speaker, also on leadership, and I'm very, very pleased to be involved in this particular session because leadership is so very important. He is going to concentrate on education and on financial literacy. He says the basics of how children actually learn how to deal with money. He's an assistant to the chief governance officer of what he says is the largest insurance company in the world, which is Allianz, and he's a runner. He's run marathons, but he was inspired last year. He wasn't here at One Young World, but he watched the tapes and he was inspired by one of our former delegates who was speaking about running and marathons and how he ran for charities. And so this year, or next year rather, in Paris, he's going to run for a charity brought up himself by a single mother. He's going to run for a charity for single parenting. So a man who's already been inspired by One Young World, here I hope to inspire us from Germany. A great welcome to Johannes Burkhardt.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Fellow delegates, let's just briefly recall what we've talked about today. We've talked about global business, we've talked about global healthcare, we talked about environmental challenges, and I thought about this before getting up to the stage, and it got me a little bit nervous because I thought, having thought about all these important topics, is anybody going to listen to a guy talking about leadership? But I quickly became a little bit more confident, and the sweat in my hands reduced a little because I reminded myself that leadership is not just what we talk in business. It's not just about how to effectively manage people. It's much more. Leadership is a factor that makes all this what we've talked about, and all this what we will talk about in the next days possible. leadership is about action. And you just said it, it's about concrete action. So let's talk about how leadership can make things happen. First of all, a leadership position is something great to achieve because it comes with certain benefits. Of course, I want to be a Sarkozy as well, but leadership comes with a side of the medal that some tend to neglect, and that is leadership comes with a responsibility. Without responsibility, leadership can be a great peril, a great threat. And sadly, without accountability, even responsible leadership can lead to no results, So to be effective, leadership needs accountability. That means we got to find some way to keep our leaders accountable to their responsibilities. So let's pose the next obvious question. How do we achieve accountability? Accountability needs transparency. And there are three important things that you can apply in your whole life. You must ensure transparency about what the issues are. You must ensure that you have clear targets, and you have to be clear on who is responsible for acting upon those targets. And that is essential. That is very essential. So, for example, how is this done in business? Let's look at Allianz, the global financial institution. I told you, I'm working for the Chief Governance Officer, and he is responsible for implementing or supporting good governance in our organization. So, he does this by setting some principles. For example, he says, leaders and managers need to show a good tone at the top. That means they have to set an example in their behavior because they serve as an orientation to others. Or for every department, for every employee, make sure that they have clear roles and responsibilities. Make sure that they take them serious and make sure that we are able to follow up, that they do their tasks. So this is just the microcosmos. But just a small example, but the idea needs to be taken further. Fellow delegates, you, our governments, our business leaders, and the public are all well aware of what the problems are. And we talked about this all day in the past days, what the problems are. But still, execution, in some part, if not many, is not satisfactory. It is not satisfactory. So if we want this to change, we must lead them to really take on concrete targets. And we ourselves must be very clear in what we demand. So ask for transparency. Ask on what has been done to achieve those targets. The media and social network are not the only tools, but they are very powerful tools. Yeah? They're very powerful tools to hold leaders, governments, and organizations accountable for what has been done and what has been not done. And these powerful tools, together with transparency, can play a great role in keeping business and governments responsible to their appropriate role in society. So, again, because I think it's so important, whatever you do, make sure that you have transparency about the issue. Make sure that you set clear targets, and make sure that responsibilities are clearly accounted or allocated to people. Then it's easier. Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's a lovely privilege to be able to introduce an inspiring delegate. So it's my privilege to introduce the next one. The next one is Scarlett Piantini from the Dominican Republic. Scarlett has already, before graduating, had the privilege and the capacity to work herself in a leadership position. Her interest is in conflict resolution and in corruption. And last year, she was able to raise the money for a project looking at the conflict between the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and she identified the fact that if you work with children first, you can show bridges to reconciliation. And so she went into Haiti and took children from both countries and brought them together using the tools of constructive engagement to try to teach them how they could break down the barriers between their countries by understanding the relationships amongst them. She just recently graduated, and her focus, like others in this area, is on corruption and how its vitriolic impacts can basically undermine any attempts at the growth of a peaceful society, and she intends to continue looking into that. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Scarlett Piantini.
Thank you, Doug, for that really kind introduction. We are living in a time in which globalization has transformed the structure of states, and governments find it ever more challenging to be effective. So much so that if we look at the root causes of every single issue discussed at One Young World, we will find poor governance and leadership at the top of the list. The increasing lack of transparency that permeates all levels of government hinders political leadership and governance worldwide. There is no doubt that corruption restricts a country's quality of governance and its capacity to develop, and we must confront it on all levels. But while we face these challenges, the increase in democracies has provided us with unprecedented avenues for positive change. We have been empowered with rights and liberties that allow us to act and to demand accountability and good governance. Authoritarian rule is very much alive, and democracies are far from perfect. But they are the best form of governance because they enhance citizens' mediums to express their wants and needs. Amartya Sen considers the right to vote, the right to free election, private property rights, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press to be the main components of democracies. It is through our exercise of these rights, liberties, and institutions that political leaders can best assess social problems and make informed decisions. So, social pressure, voting or protesting, is necessary for democracy. We, as ideal-driven citizens, must rely on it if we want to influence good governance in our countries. Beyond that, we are responsible for improving these institutions if we want to increase our leverage over our political futures. Easier said than done, but it is imperative to do something, anything. As a teenager, I volunteered for the UN and the Dominican Education Department to hold Model UN in public schools for the first time. And a few years ago, I obtained a grant to execute the first Dominico-Haitian peace camp with 30 children. I did this because I wanted to influence a situation I considered crucial to my country's development. I now want to contribute to the promotion of good governance. First, I looked at whether or not democratic institutions have actually improved governance. I conducted a small study to examine the relationship between governance, corruption, and development. Through my research and statistical analysis, I became convinced that civil liberties, such as freedom of association and freedom of the press, are the specific mechanisms through which we can best hold our governments accountable and transparent. In 1992, the Brazilian movement for ethics in politics succeeded in ending President Collor de Mello's corruption scheme. The strength of this spontaneous national movement led to the first impeachment for corruption in Latin America. And this shows that civil society has a powerful role to play in demanding good governance. We are the owners of tomorrow. We have the desire and are in the position to change wrongs in the world. We have to become the driving force of the global civil society if we want to influence our nation's political futures. We must exercise our civil liberties and political rights. If we don't exercise our rights, then we have no right to demand better governance. I am now coordinating development and democracy projects at a Dominican nonprofit organization, and I'm involved in the civil society petition to hold the first presidential debate in my country. It is with these small steps that our desires for good governance will be met. If you want to go back home and take a small step, raise your hand. Make the commitment right now that you will go back to your country and act. Join a free press, or fight for it. Join the legal system, advocate to legitimize it. Join a protest to make your voice heard, or vote against corrupt politicians. Work to strengthen your civil society because within it lies the greatest potential for change. Let us never conform to the system, but live to improve it. It is our responsibility to do so. Thank you.
Well, our next speaker is going to concentrate on developing leadership skills in young people. He thinks that's very important, but he's wise enough to realize that it's no good having leaders unless you also have followers, and that the leaders who inspire need followers too. He's the Australian Youth Ambassador for the United Nations this year, and he points out that he is the first Aboriginal Australian to hold this position. So he's a good man. He was a business analyst. He gave it up in order to take on the job as ambassador. He tells me he's not going back. He's going to concentrate his efforts and his energies on leadership and helping others to develop those skills. Give a welcome to Australian Benson Saulo.
Lovely, thank you very much. I am delighted to address the One Young World Conference today, not only as the 2011 Australian Ambassador to the United Nations, but as a global citizen. As someone who believes that our future is not defined by borders or boundaries, by race or religion, but rather that fundamental belief that I am my brother's keeper, that I am my sister's keeper. In 1966, Robert Kennedy, addressing the youth of South Africa, said that we can perhaps remember that those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment in life, that they seek, as we do, nothing but the chance to live out our lives with purpose and happiness. It is this sense of responsibility that has brought us here, this sense of responsibility to our fellow man that has brought us here to Zurich, to beautiful Switzerland, from over 170 nations around the world, because we seek this purpose and this responsibility and this happiness. It is the social footprint we leave behind as we continue to kick down the doors that remain closed to young people throughout the world. And it's this impact that creates the vibrations that shake the foundations of institutions moored in time. Not to break, but to build. Build stronger structures, build better structures, supporting youth leadership, supporting young people. There's a beautiful quote by Pericles. She says, "What we leave behind is not what's carved into stone monuments, but what's woven in the hearts of others." It is this common thread that binds us all. It is this rich tapestry of hope, passion, and that sense of urgency, a motif that I have witnessed through my travels across Australia, traveling over 32,000 kilometres, engaging over 10,000 people face-to-face and through social media. It is the hope shared by a school principal in remote Northern Australia, when he said no one had graduated year 12 in 7 years. And then he pointed out one young boy and 3 young girls, and he said these 4 students, they have the potential to be the first in their family, the first in their community to graduate and break the cycle of disadvantage which has gripped their town. It is the passion the Foreign Minister for Tunisia showed at the recent United Nations high-level meeting on youth when referring to us as the dot-com generation, when he stated, "We are counting on their strength to fulfill the promises of the revolution." It is the urgency that formed the words of the Honduras Minister for Youth when he said, "We must vanquish the old cliche that the future belongs to the youth, for it is the present that belongs to the youth." The 12th of August 2011 brought to a close the International Year of Youth, themed Dialogue and Mutual Understanding. This is a wonderful and thoughtful theme that must not end at this 12-month mark. It's something that we should continue to strive for at grassroots level, at local, national and international levels. And with that, I call on political leaders throughout the world at all levels of government and in all institutions to empower, support and develop young leaders in decision-making processes with transparent but strong frameworks that are accessible, and that's very much key, accessible to young people. Youth leadership is not tokenistic. It is a meaningful investment into youthful enthusiasm, into the inherent sense of a global community in which responsibility and accountability are supported through transparent and tangible governmental frameworks. So I ask you to return to your nations and return to your cities with a challenge to your leaders. How are you supporting me as a young person? How are you supporting our youth? But more importantly, how can we work together to form and develop and implement strong frameworks supporting young leaders, supporting the young people's voice? I will be representing Australian youth at the 66th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, where I'll be voicing the vital importance of meaningful youth engagement and also the vital importance of relevant formal and informal education. I pay tribute to you all, you One Young World delegates, you leaders in your communities, you leaders in your nations, leaders in business, leaders in innovation. I pay tribute to the young people throughout the world who continue to shake the foundations of institutions, continue to shake the foundations of nations in order to build stronger institutions that support and promote youth leadership. It behooves us to remember that change is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. It is not something to be waited for, it is something to be achieved. If you share the same passion as me for youth leadership, if you share the same hope that young people's voices will be heard, I ask you to stand here today. I ask you to take a stand that we will go back to our nations and we will rally our governments, we will rally our local communities, and we will rally our investment properties. No, we will rally our institutions. So I ask you to stand today. And I ask you to say today, together we are what we can't be alone. I ask you to say this because it is so true. Together we are what we can't be alone. Together we are what we can't be alone. Thank you.
It falls on me to introduce our last delegate speaker. Alan Mack is a young attorney at Clifford Chance, and despite the implications of working for one of the world's most prestigious and demanding law firms, he already has had a great deal of chance to give back. He is one of the members of the advisory committee of One Young World. He is a member of the advisory committee for the alumni of Cambridge University. A demanding role, I promise. In addition, he also founded the Clifford Chance Foundation, and that charity has already given out millions of pounds in its first few years to hundreds of charitable institutions in the UK. And he is a trustee of Magic Breakfast. Magic Breakfast being the leading UK charity to combat childhood hunger by establishing business breakfast clubs around the UK. So our very last delegate speaker, but by no means the least, Alan Mack.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doug, and it's a great pleasure to speak in favour of today's resolution on leadership and to close this summit as the final delegate speaker. And this has been an inspiring summit because over the last 3 days, the energy, the ideas, and the ambition of all the young leaders in this hall has shown everyone that our generation can make a difference, shape the future, and change the world. And those who have come to One Young World, as I have done, will find a new generation of leaders in this hall who believe above all, as I do, that we must remake leadership for the digital age. So today, I'm going to explain what leadership in the digital age means and the role for business, government, and individuals. Firstly, it means business and government must listen and respond to our generation. They must open up and listen up. They need to empower young people to share their ideas for change and respond to our ambitions to shape the future. And in the UK, the Next Generation Vision Group of business leaders, of which I'm a member, has already started to take action. We have set out our vision for how business should operate in the next 10 to 15 years when our generation is in charge. And we've made some solid recommendations for change. We want business to be a part of society, not apart from it. And we want business to take care of all its stakeholders, not just shareholders. So put simply, our vision is a call to change and a call for action to business and government, to listen to our generation, to be open to our ideas, and to respond to our ambition for better leadership in the future. But business and government must do more than just listen and respond to what we say and do. They must be open themselves. They need to share their ideas and their information with us. So secondly, leadership in the digital age means being open and being transparent, because the digital revolution has changed everything, and it must change how government works as well. And in the UK last year, David Cameron, our new Prime Minister, has already taken the lead. He told every single government department to set new high standards for transparency. So in Britain, for the very first time, we now have information online about how taxpayers' money is spent, about who is winning lucrative government contracts, and about how local public services are performing, how the police, schools and hospitals that we depend on are performing. So Britain is taking a lead in government transparency, and today I call upon all of you to go home and ask your governments to do the same. And thirdly and finally, leadership in the digital age also means recognising, as Doug said, that it's important to do good, not just do well, and put that into action. So whilst we can ask business and government to be more accountable, to be more transparent, to be more open, we ourselves as individuals must also be leaders. Because in the digital age, the best governments, the best businesses, and yes, the best young leaders, don't just ask, what can I get? They ask, what can I give? And in my own world, I've already started to do as much as I can. As Doug mentioned, I helped to launch the Clifford Chance Foundation in 2008. And since then, we've helped over 200 charities around the world with more than $4 million of financial aid. And as a trustee of Magic Breakfast, I lead the fight against child hunger in the UK. And I'm incredibly proud that every morning we feed over 6,000 hungry children in some of the UK's most deprived communities. So if you see a young person in your country who can do more, then my message to you is go home and get them involved. Because your duty as the future leaders of the world is to inspire young people to take action today. So as this summit draws to a close, let me end by saying this. Never stop believing that our generation of leaders, people of ambition, energy, and ideas, can make a difference, shape the future, and change the world. And this summit is the start of our campaign to make business, government, and leadership work for us in the digital age. This is indeed our wake-up call. And each of you can say you were here at the beginning, but now your challenge, more importantly, is to go home, spread the word, lead the change, and take action now. And let the word go out from Zurich that as you fight for more transparency, better leadership, better government, and a world without conflict, you will find in this hall and around the world millions of young people who will be with you, who will help you, and who share your irrepressible passion for change. Our work begins today, and tomorrow we fight on. Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, chaps, sorry, Haribani. Bear with us now, okay? Because we've run so over, Mohammed Yunus has been waiting backstage for hours, okay? We cannot lose him. So Haribani's going to read the resolution. We're going to the vote, but you know you want to see Mohammed Yunus, okay? So, Haribani.
I just want to say, and I want to give you a context to the resolution. I believe, and I'm sure all of you will agree with me, that good political leadership may not necessarily be the cause to all the issues that we've discussed today and over the past 2 days. But it is certainly one of the key solutions to all those issues. Whether it's education, equality, fair trade, responsible business, I think good governance and good leaders is the need of the hour. That is why our resolution for One Young World 2011 has changed. It encapsulates all those aspects as well. And I'd like to read the resolution. In the belief that political leadership entails responsibility for upholding human rights and fair and progressive trade and encouraging socially responsible businesses, and that transparency and effective scrutiny of government servants and mechanisms can help to develop and to ensure these, we call on all political leaders to spearhead transparency in all levels of government and in institutions. The call of action reads as, we call upon One Young World delegates to challenge their national governments to develop transparency and to withdraw their support from governments, organizations, and individuals proven to be adverse to transparency and independent scrutiny, and to publicize all such instances. Before I urge all of you to vote and pass this resolution, I want you to read it, not once, but twice. Think about it, challenge it in your mind, and only then pass it. Because frankly, I want to see a 82 or 100% I agree only if you're going to go back to your home countries and implement this resolution. One more thing that I want to say before I leave the stage today is I know the current state of affairs in the world are grim, especially politically, and it is a tricky situation. But sympathy or anger without solutions is useless. So I have just one advice for all of us. Don't complain, don't whine. Be the change you want to see in the world, and don't wait for anybody else to do that job for you. Thank you.
Have you had a chance to look at the resolution? Yeah, properly? Are you ready to go? Okay. Get ready to vote. Are we ready with the voting system? You know the form last time. 1, I agree. 2, I disagree. 3, I abstain. Please vote now. Oh, yes. Well done, leadership team. Fabulous. Davey, thank councillors.
I'm just subtly taking my chewing gum out live online
Good
around
idea.
the world. Thank you so much, councillors. Thank you, delegate speakers. A huge round of applause. Okay, so we now go into the closing ceremony, but it's not actually the closing ceremony because this is where it all starts rather than where it all ends. So we probably should actually entitle this the opening ceremony, but that would be a little bit confusing. And it is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce to you a man who needs no introduction. I'll give him a quick one anyway. Nobel Prize winner, creator of microcredit and microfinance, creator of social business, somebody who has had huge amounts of support over the last 12 months for the young people from the young people in the world, and someone who is here this evening to show his support for you, the young people in the world. So put your hands together and give a huge One Young World welcome to Mohammed Yunus.
Hey! Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Hello. Hello. Well, it has been a long day. You don't want to hear another speech. Yeah. And I don't want to make a speech because they have been telling me they're such a mesmerizing speakers you are. I don't want to dare to make a speech in front of you. So I'll skip that and talk about something else. And that's about how jealous I am about you. I'm very, very jealous because you got so many things going about you. You are the luckiest generation in the entire human history. You don't believe it, but you are. Imagine all the other generations. Take my generation, for example. If you compare my generation at your age and your generation as you are, you'll think we lived in a primitive age. We're in the caves. We didn't have Facebooks. We didn't have the Twitters, all the things that was clicking away. We didn't have all the mobile phones and all the kind of gadgets you carry around, iPods and iPads and whatever. And you used to write a letter. Probably you don't know what is a letter. how to have a letter pad, and a pen, real pen, and write it very carefully. We used to call them pen pals. You heard the word? Probably you didn't, yeah. But for us, it's very serious business to find a pen pal somewhere else. And very carefully drafted letter to a pen pal. And fold it, put it in envelope. You don't hear about envelope. What is an envelope? Put it in and go to the post office, buy stamps, and put it on top of it. And then write the address and put it in the post box. You saw the mailbox in your computer, but you didn't see the post box. You put it in. And wait for days, for weeks, for months to get a reply. And finally, after 3 months, 6 months, you got a reply. And you got so excited. Somebody responded to your thing. And see, you now write it, and before you finish, your response comes back. So that's the kind of speed that you have gathered. And that speed is in you. And that contact, we could write to 5, 6, 10 pen pals maybe. You couldn't afford more because there's lots of cost involved in there and lots of waiting and so on, get very frustrated. But today you get thousands, hundreds of thousands, doesn't matter. So it's a kind of a timeless communication now. Time is instantaneous. It's a distanceless world. It doesn't matter whether somebody is in another continent or just next door. It's about the same thing. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Distance doesn't have any meaning in your cyber world. And on top of it, it is costless. Virtually, it doesn't cost anything to send emails, text messages, and so on and so forth. Unlike the stamps and all the things that we had to put in. So in that world, you have created a completely different world for yourself. You don't realize it, but you're the most powerful generation in the whole world. And more knowledgeable generation, because knowledge is so easy for you. If we couldn't understand a word, our teachers used to tell we have to consult the dictionary. And you have to have a big thing on your shelf. Go page by page to find that word. It takes a lot of time. Today, split seconds, you get all this information. Not only just words, you don't have Encyclopedia Britannica anymore in your shelves. This is the style that we got used to. If you want to learn something, you have to go get something like that. You Google it. They give you the latest, up to date. You go to the Wikipedia, give you everything. So you have all the information in yours. So all these things that you have already, as a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 20-year-old, it would take 50 years to accumulate this information in the previous generation. But you got them all now. So you're much prepared than anybody else in any other generation. So you have the power now. You don't realize it, how much power you have. I hope you do. The question today, that's what I wanted to talk to you. What do you do with that power? Are you aware that you have the powers? If you're aware, the next question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to waste it? You have it. When I say you, it's not just you in a collective sense. You as an individual, you have the power. Not the group of young people have the power. Every single individual young person here and throughout the world has it. How do we use that power? And what do we do with that power? You can create a completely new world before you even cross your 40s or something. completely new world. This is a time, as you see all the problems that we see around the world today, as you get familiar, you get fed up with that. Financial crisis, food crisis, environmental crisis, energy crisis, poverty crisis, health crisis, you name it. How are we going to solve this? So we need a gear shift. The same old gear that brought us, the whole world, up to this point is not going to work anymore. So the whole world is waiting. How do you shift the gear of this world? Things which could not be done in decades could be done in months now. It's possible. It may sound funny. Why is saying that? It's possible. Just look at the things that happened in your lifetime, in the last 10 years. Things that didn't exist. Today it is here in front, in your pocket, in your hand. You're taking pictures and all that. The phone that you have in your pocket, this is the latest version probably. Last year you didn't have that. Previous year you didn't have that. Can you find out, can you tell us right now what kind of phone we'll be all using next year? We don't know. But we will be using the next year phone. It will be completely different. 10 years now, 5 years now, what kind of thing we'll have in our pocket? We have no clue. And when you have that in your hand, you'll say, this is a museum piece I'm carrying now. It's so ridiculous. What happened to the Walkman? You have the Walkman? People will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get one because it's in the museum now. You can't find it. So that's the way all the things we do carry with us or have it in our house will be obsolete. That's the speed in which the world is changing. And you are in the front line of that speed. And you are the one who is absorbing that speed. We can't. We have to fumble with our phone to find a telephone number or click something. But the 7-year-old does it in a split second. I take 5 minutes to do it because our speed is completely different speed. So that's the speed you have. With that speed, the distance between the possibles and impossibles, what happens to that distance? Shrinks. Very soon, what you think impossible today, everyone says, oh, it's impossible to have it. And very soon, it will be commonplace. Everybody say, hey, you don't have it, everybody has it. You didn't do it, everybody did it. So that don't ignore anything because it is impossible. And that's the one you use your power. You should be interested in the impossibles, not the possible. Possibles is a trash. The old guys will do it. We'll be doing the impossibles. And that's our job. What are the impossibles? List them. I listed them already for you. The financial crisis, environmental crisis. These are the impossibles. These guys will never make it. You'll do it very fast because you have that power. And just make a fist like this. Can you do that? Everybody? Just make a fist. What do you have inside your fist? Power. It's power. You have the key for the future in your fist, inside you. What do you want to use that key for? If you open it, you'll see an empty hand because you don't see the key yet, because you're not aware of it. If you start doing it, the key will be produced inside your fist and make use of it. Nothing is impossible. So go back and write it up make that impossible that bothers you. And if you put your mind into it, it will happen. Hans was discussing this morning about social business, and I'm sure he's bored you to death talking about social business. This is all about creativity, that's all. You use your creativity to solve a problem. Human beings are empowered with all kinds of creativity. We all have it, but we are not aware of it because we don't use it. If you don't use it, it's dead. It doesn't work for anybody. Activate it. And use your creativity, and the key will be in your hand. And you'll create a completely new world. It's not just a kind of transition from the old world to the new world. It's a jump to the new world. So get ready for the jump. And I'm sure after all this discussion that you have in this forum, there are many issues that came. Now go back and make a list and hit it, that this is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't have to be big. That's the most important thing about it. Just to be very tiny little thing. Don't try to solve an entire problem of the world. Just take a tiny piece of the world in your hand, around you. Address that. Once you can address that, all the problems will be solved because it's a repetition of the same thing. We did microcredit, you remember? Just tiny little numbers in one village. All we did is repeated it again and again and again. Now it's all over the world. What we did, very simple thing too. We dismissed the whole idea of collateral. That's all. We said, forget about collateral. If you're going to get collateral, poor will never get into it. So we denied it completely. Says, then it cannot be done. I said, well, try. We tried it. And that's what created microcredit. We reversed the whole system. Banks go to the rich, we went to the poor. Bank go to the men, we went to the women. Bank go to the city, we went to the village. All is reversal. Bank want collateral, we said no collateral. And that's it. We created Grameen Phone, mobile phone company. We said we'll bring the phone to the poor women in the village. And the whole concept of telephone communication changed. Today, Bangladesh has 150 million people. There are more than 65 million telephones. Only 10 years, 12 years back, there's only 500,000 telephones. The whole world changed completely with telephones. And God knows how much changes it will happen in future. So this is the power that you have, you carry with you. Not, again, don't look at the right or the left. Maybe he's talking to you, not me. It's you I'm talking to. You have the power. And you can talk to your friends. Create your kind of social business discussion group. Design, just design. Don't have to do it right away. Design it. Put it in the websites or a portal or whatever you create or Facebook. Just put all the ideas about social business. Brilliant ideas will come. Someone will say, okay, I'll pick this up. Create employment. You know, the employment is a big issue now. Even the US is crying, we don't have employment enough. Joblessness. In social business, so easy to do that. Create jobs as a social business. If you can create jobs for 10 people, 5 people, as a social business, you have hit the most difficult problem human being ever faced, creating jobs. You solve that problem as a social business. So try that. So many, many things. Create this. Don't just attend here and go back and kind of collect all this information and forget. Get into action. Create your own network, 3 people, 4 people, and so on. And all do design social business. And it will be a kind of festivity of designs. Then some will take actions. And I'm sure somebody can announce a competition, design competition. I hope this forum can announce a design competition of social business. Next year when you come with designs. And the best one or the best 10 will get the award of investment. Your designs will be invested in, so that every year we get more and more, and others will come and do that. Possible. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that's the task. That's the task for you. See, it's fun. You discover yourself in the process. The power that you have, you release it, you unleash it. And that's the task that you have with you. And thank you very much. Well, have a long day, so you can relax. Okay. Thank you.